Good afternoon, students. Today let us start the next topic. Already we have discussed the basic concepts of heredity. Okay. Today what we'll discuss? We will discuss about the experiments which were performed by Mendel. So who is the father of genetics? Gregor John Mendel. Okay. Full name is father of genetics. Gregor John Mendel. Gregor John Mendel, which year he was born? 1822, and then 1884. Okay, in 1882 he was born in Czechoslovakia. Now it is called Czechoslovakia, Silesia. Okay, so he was born in a poor family, and later on he joined a monastery. His early education was completed in a monastery. Monastery, you know what it is? Where the priest they live. Priest, a group of monk or priest where they live. Here he was related to Christianity. So he was living in a monastery, and in the monastery only he got his early education because he belonged to a poor family. So his early education was completed in a monastery. Then after 18 years he completed his up to 12, and then he went to university, that is University of Vienna. University of Vienna he went, and there he studied mathematics, physics and life science. Okay, so there he completed his studies. After coming, then he came back again to the monastery. After coming back to the monastery, then he applied for one examination, that is a certificate examination for teaching. But in that examination he failed. But that did not stop his scientific quest or his his quest for discovery. It did not stop him. He could not pass that certificate examination for teaching. But then also he came back to monastery, and what he did? He started growing pea plant. Okay, as he was a mathematician, so he did all the experiments in a very systematic manner, and whatever readings he got or whatever number he got in the form of offspring, that he maintained very well. Okay, before him also some scientists they performed the breeding in different plants and animals, but it was not so successful because they did not do in a systematic manner. As Mendel, he was a mathematician, he did it in a very systematic manner. He noted down each and every reading. So his whatever he did experiment, that was under a title. It was an experiments in plant hybridization. What it was? Experiments in plant hybridization. Plant hybridization. Under this heading, all the experiments that he performed, it was all the readings or all the experiments that he did, it was under this heading he had placed, that is experiments in plant hybridization. After this experiment he did for several years. Not that within 1 year he completed. He did for a long time. That is experiment time, it was 1856 to 1865. Experiments he performed. Okay, he performed many experiments within this time. 1856 to 1865, performed many experiments. And then he came to a conclusion, and then he gave some laws that we call as law of inheritance. 3 law of inheritance is there. That we'll discuss one by one when we proceed. So first thing, what he selected? He selected a pea plant. What is the scientific name? Pisum sativum. That is garden pea. He selected garden pea. What is the scientific name? Pisum sativum. Always you have to underline the scientific name, Pisum sativum. First will be capital letter and second name will be small letter. Okay. Genus and first name is generic name and second is the specific name. So he selected a pea plant. So there was a reason behind selecting a pea plant. Can you tell me the reason? Reason for selecting the pea plant?
Ma'am, because it can grow in very less time.
Okay. Reasons for selection of pea plant, or you can say garden pea. First, it had a very short life cycle. Okay. Had a short life cycle. About 3 months. Okay, one life cycle could be completed within the 3 months. What else? Anyone?
It has 7 contrasting
Okay.
features.
It exhibited several contrasting characters. That we'll discuss one by one. And how many he selected? Out of many he selected 7 contrasting features. That we'll discuss one by one. Okay. Other than this, the pea plant, it had a bisexual flower. Okay. It had bisexual flower. What does it mean? Flower had both male and the female reproductive part. And one more thing here, other than this, some more points are there. Fourth point. It was cheap and very easily available. It was cheap and very easily available. Okay. And other than this, it was very easy to grow. Okay. It was easy to grow and many offsprings were produced. Many offsprings were produced. Because many seeds are produced at a time, so many offsprings could be produced at the same time. Other than this, self-pollination and cross-pollination both could be done, or you can say self-fertilization and cross-fertilization both could be achieved. Okay, self-fertilization and cross-fertilization could be done easily. So, whenever he wanted to do self-fertilization, he could do. Whenever he wanted to cross-fertilization, he could do. So, it was very easily done. Other than this, any other thing? Yes?
Size of seed.
Cheap already we have done.
Size of seed, color of seed.
Oh, that one we'll discuss the characters, contrasting characters we'll discuss. 7 contrasting characters, okay. So, these are the few things. Other than this, they could do self-fertilization or self-pollination was possible in the pea plant because the petals of the flower that covered the reproductive parts, male and the female part. So, naturally what was there, what was present in the pea plant? In the flowers, it could do self-pollination by itself. So whenever he wanted to do cross-pollination, what he did, now let us see what he did in case when he wanted to get cross-pollination. So self-fertilization or self-pollination, it was natural. Clear? In the pea plant, flower is bisexual, having both male and female reproductive part, and as the petals, they remain closed or they enclose, you can say. Petals are the colored part. As the petals of this pea plant, they enclose the reproductive part. So it was possible to have self-pollination. Pollens they used to mature and they used to get on the stigma, and the self-pollination was possible because of the petals, closed petals, or the petals they used to close the reproductive part. So self-pollination was natural in case of pea plant. So when he wanted to do cross-pollination, what he used to do? What he did, because both the parts are present in the same, and if you want some other desired plant to do the cross-pollination, or if he wants to do the cross-pollination with some other variety, then what he did? Two things he had to do to attain cross-pollination. What he did? He removed the anthers. Removed the anthers mechanically, or with the help of hand, it was removed. Anthers were removed. Removal of anther, what it is called? Removal of anther mechanically. What it is called? Emasculation. Okay. When the anther is removed, anther will have the pollens. So whenever he wanted to get the cross-pollination, what he did? He removed the anther of that flower, opened the petal and removed the anther. And what was done? So that the stigma should get only the desired pollen which he wanted. So what was done? He covered the surface of the stigma of the flower, so that only the desired pollen which he wanted, that only will be transferred on that surface. So two things he did for cross-pollination, cross-fertilization or cross-pollination. One, he removed the anther of the flower. Another thing, what he did? He covered. Second, covered the stigma with polybags. Okay. So only which pollen he wanted to transfer, that only could be transferred to prevent self-pollination. And to attain cross-pollination. Anything you can say? To prevent self-pollination or to attain cross-pollination. These two things he did. Okay. One, he removed the anther from the flower mechanically, that is called emasculation, and second thing, he covered the stigma of the flower so that it is not self-pollinated. Clear? Then whichever desired variety he wanted, that pollen he used to place on the stigma and got the cross-pollination. As a result of this, he got many varieties and he studied generation after generation. But before he started the experiment, what are the characteristics that he preferred? He preferred the pure bred. Yesterday we have discussed pure bred variety he selected. Pure bred. For pure bred, what he did? Self-pollination or self-fertilization was done. Not only one generation, generation after generation. Tall plant with tall. Other side, short plant was crossed with short. It gave to short plant. Here it gave to tall plant. Again, tall with tall. Here again, short with short. So it gave rise to pure bred. This is the pure bred. purebred, which will have only one type of allele, okay, or one type of gene it will have, which is going to produce the one character in the one specific character in the organism. Okay, so this is about the purebred. Now let us discuss what are the different varieties that he selected, or what are the 7 varieties that he selected. Now let us see. Seven varieties that he selected. Selected by Mendel. First, what is selected? Height of the plant, height of plant. In that, one was dominant and the other one was recessive. Dominant was tall and recessive was dwarf, or you can say short, anything you can say. Then second, what is selected? Seed shape. In seed shape, 2 contrasting characteristics were shown by the seed. One seed was round was dominant trait, and the other one was wrinkled. Okay, one was round, the other type of seed shape was found, that was wrinkled. Okay, round, this is wrinkled. Tall and here short plant. Short plant. Third, seed color. Seed color, one was yellow seed, that was dominant, and the other one was green, that was the recessive trait. Okay. Then number 4, what was it? Pod color. Pod color, the pod inside which the seeds are there. Pod. Okay. Pod color, here it was green and here it was yellow. Green was the dominant one in case of pod color. Okay. Now pod shape. Pod shape. How one pod was inside the seeds are present. One was inflated, or you can say complete. Other one was constricted. It was like this type. Inside the seed were present. Constricted. Clear? Then number 6. Flower color. Flower color here, violet flower. Here it was white flower. Clear? Then number 7.
Position of the flower.
Position of flower. Position of flower. Here, in one place, the flowers were axial on the stem, on the axis of the stem. Here, another It was terminal at the end. Okay, at the terminal. Here the flowers were on the axil. Axil. Axil means on the stem, side. Here terminal. Flower was terminal at the end or top of the stem. Here it was on the side of the stem. Here it was on the top of the stem. So these are the different contrasting characteristics. Contrasting characters. Okay, first one was height of the plant. In that, one plant was tall, that was the dominant character, the other one was dwarf. Second, you have the seed shape. One was round, completely round, and the other one was wrinkled. Okay. Third, seed color or the cotyledon color. Okay, cotyledon inside. It was yellow, and the other yellow was the dominant trait, and the green was the recessive. Then number 4, you had the pod color, in the structure inside which the seeds are present. Pod, here green is the dominant and yellow is the recessive. Okay. Then pod shape, inflated means complete. There is no constriction, whereas the recessive one was constricted. So according to the shade, if 4 seeds are present there, 4 places it will be constricted. Okay. Then number 5 was the flower color. Some plants they gave rise to violet flowers, whereas some plants they gave rise to white flowers. So many contrasting characters were found in the pea plant. So it was very easy to study and get the result, and then get the after the experimentation to come to a conclusion. It would be very easy if so many contrasting features were found, so many varieties were found. So 7 contrasting characters. So how many varieties is selected? 14. 7 contrasting characters, he selected 14 varieties, 2 for each. 7 to the 14. So 14 varieties he studied, or he did experiment with the 14 varieties, which showed 7 contrasting characteristics. Now after getting the purebred, now he started the experiment. So everything he planned and did. After getting the purebred, he growed it separately, and whatever seeds he got, he made the calculation of that. He maintained everything very nicely because he was good at mathematics, he was a mathematician. So everything he maintained and then came to a conclusion, which gave rise to 3 laws of inheritance. Okay, that one we'll discuss one by one. So first let us see the first characteristic on which he did the experiment. That was the height of the plant. So he took the true breed, or you can say pure breed, for this variety. So one was tall and the other one was dwarf. That is monohybrid cross. Monohybrid cross. What does it mean? Only one trait or only one character is considered. Any one character is taken. That is called monohybrid cross. Mono means one. Okay. Only one character is considered in this. So here first what he considered? Purebred, that is tall, and the purebred of short. This is tall plant, and here he took dwarf plant. Now we did the cross. So this, what is this? These are the parents. You have to write here. Parent. These are the parents, tall plant and dwarf plant. Here, what kind of allele they are having? Capital T, capital T. How you came to know that is a dominant? When you breed with the having the contrasting character when it is bred, if that character appears in the F1 generation, then what you can say? That is the dominant trait, or that is the dominant character of the plant. So by crossbreeding, the same variety of plant having the contrasting characters, when you crossbreed it, then F1 generation, whichever character appears in the F1 generation, you can say that is the dominant character. So here what happened? When he took the pure bred, what was the contrasting character? Related to height. Okay, one was tall, the other one was dwarf. So here what happened? Gamete formation. When the gamete formation takes place, then the alleles they separate. So here one was T, other one was T. Here also these are the gametes. Okay, these are the gametes that were formed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now these gametes, when the fertilization took place, fusion of the gametes took place, then what happened? This T combined with this T, then what is formed? Okay, when this T combines with this T, it forms capital T small t, and when this T combined with this, capital T small t, and when this T combined with this, then it forms. Clear? So if this is F1 generation, in F1 generation what was formed? All the organisms were heterozygous. Heterozygous here why? Because they are having two different alleles. Okay, one is dominant and one is recessive. Two different alleles are present. So here all are heterozygous, and it is same. Heterozygous in nature, heterozygous, and all the alleles were same, capital T and small t. Okay, so what? This is the genotype. What was the phenotype? Physically how they appeared? Because this is dominant, so all were tall plants. All were tall plants. In which generation? In F1 generation. So what do you find here? In F1 generation, only the dominant character or dominant allele expresses itself. And when the expression of, or the allele which expresses itself in the F1 generation, that is called the dominant allele. And the character that is expressed, that is called the dominant character. Okay. So here, what was seen when he did cross with the tall plant, or you can make the Punnett square also. See here like this. Punnett square also you can make. That will be easy for you. Like this, you can make the square. Capital T, small t, small t. T, 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 T. F1 generation. This is called the Punnett square. Okay, here male gamete, here female gamete. Female, male gamete. With the help of the Punnett square also you can do, if the lines are confusing. Okay. Then what happened here? This TT, this is F1 generation. TT was, in the previous one, cross fertilization took place. Here, selfing was done. Selfing means self-fertilization was done. Whichever organism was formed in F1 generation, that was made to cross with the same organism. Selfing was done, or you can say self-fertilization was done among the organism. Then what was the result of this? Now let us see. This will form the gametes TT and TT. Okay, these are the gametes. Now you make the Punnett square for this. For this you make a Punnett square. Capital T, small t, capital T, small t. What do you get here? TT. Here, then you get capital T, small t. Here, capital T, small t, and here you get small t, small t. This is in which generation? F2 generation. So here, in F2 generation, what was seen? There was a change in the genotype and phenotype. What was the genotype here? What was the genotype here? What were the different types of genotype? Genotype means genetic constitution. What type of alleles are present? TT, then capital T small t, then capital T small t, and here TT. So here it is homozygous. Homozygous, how many are there? 1. This is heterozygous. How many are there? 2. And homozygous recessive. Here it is what? Homozygous dominant allele. Here heterozygous. And here what you have? Homozygous recessive allele. So here how many number it is? 1. 1 is to 2 is to. Okay. Then 1 is to 2 is to 1. Clear? This will be with the ratio of the genotype. Now phenotype you see. What will be the phenotype here? Physically, what characteristic you will find? This one will be tall. These two will also be tall. And this one will be dwarf. Dwarf or short. Okay, so what will be the total? How much it will be? This one will be 3 is to 1. Okay, 3 will be tall and 1 will be dwarf. Or you can say short. Clear? So this is with one characteristic or one contrasting characters. Like this he did with all and he found the same. He came to the conclusion that here see, he had crossed a tall plant with short plant, but he did not get any medium sized plant, isn't it?
Yes.
So he, on the basis of this, he came to a conclusion and he gave 2 laws. On the basis of the monohybrid cross, 2 laws. And next we will study later on. Next day we will study the dihybrid cross. So on the basis of the dihybrid cross, he gave the 3rd law. So on the basis of monohybrid cross, he came to the conclusion of 2 laws. That is law of dominance and law of segregation. That one we will discuss today, and next day we will discuss dihybrid cross. Okay. So these 2 laws, let us see what does it tells us. Laws of inheritance. First one is law of dominance. Second is law of segregation. And third one is law of independent assortment. Clear? So, law of dominance and law of segregation. It was proved through he came to the conclusion of these 2 laws on the basis of monohybrid cross. And law of independent assortment, dihybrid cross. Okay. Law of independent assortment was clear when he did the cross with the two varieties, or when he took two varieties together. Okay. That time he came to the conclusion to law of independent assortment. Now, what is law of dominance? Now let us see. Law of dominance. So, in the monohybrid cross, what he had seen in the heterozygous condition, or when two pure varieties having the contrasting characters, when one particular variety was taken having the two different contrasting characters, when it was crossed, what was given? A heterozygous king. Okay, this was the heterozygous in F1 generation. In F1 generation, what was formed? Heterozygous organism was formed having two different types of alleles. And here, what was seen? One allele, two alleles are present. Two alleles are present, capital T and small t. Out of these two alleles, one allele was dominant over the other. One allele could express physically, or it showed the character, you can say. Only one allele, two alleles are present. Two alleles in F1 generation, when they form the heterozygous, or when they form the F1 generation organisms, in that it was found that they had two alleles, two different alleles. But what was found? Out of these two alleles, one was dominant. One was dominant.
Ma'am?
Which was the dominant? That is capital T. So this dominant allele was able to express in the F1 generation. Okay. So on the basis of that, he came to the conclusion that when two pure braids are crossed, having one characteristic, or when you take into consideration one characteristic, when two pure braids are crossed, out of the two alleles are present, two different alleles are present, one is dominant, one is recessive. Out of these two alleles, only one allele was able to express itself over the other. Other allele is present, but it is unable to express itself in the F1 generation. So, the allele which was able to express itself physically in the organism, which appeared in the organism physically. Okay, allele is T, but what it gives rise to? Tall plant. So this tallness, this allele which is giving rise to tallness, it is the dominant allele. And in the F1 generation, only the dominant allele are expressed. He came to the conclusion that when two different alleles are present, or of showing for a particular trait, two different alleles are present, but only the dominant allele will be able to express in the F1 generation. Recessive allele may be present with that. Here what? Small t is the recessive, but it cannot express itself in F1 generation. Recessive allele can express itself only in the F2 generation. Clear? So, this is the law of dominance. That is, in the heterozygous condition, the allele which is able to express itself in the F1 generation, that is the dominant allele. And even if the recessive allele is present, it is not expressed in F1 generation. So, that is the law of dominance. Clear? So, only one thing you keep in mind, dominant trait is able to express itself in the F1 generation. Okay. Even if the recessive trait is present, only the dominant allele is able to express itself. in F1 generation. That is the law of dominance. Second, law of segregation. Segregation, what does it mean? Law of segregation. This heterozygous which is formed, gametes, what happens? They segregate. Law of segregation is what? Two alleles may be present together or they can be passed in the next generation, but during the gamete formation they separate. For example, this is F1 generation. F1 generation, when you cross it, then T. There is segregation. There is separation of the alleles. Clear? So, this law of segregation was also based on the monohybrid cross. So, law of dominance, according to that, it was clear that only the dominant trait or the allele will be able to express itself in F1 generation. Recessive trait may be present or recessive allele may be present with that, but only the dominant allele will be able to express itself in F1 generation and recessive only in F2 generation. Second, law of segregation is what? Two alleles in the heterozygous condition or what the hybrid is formed. This hybrid is formed as a result of F1 generation. Okay, in F1 generation the hybrid is formed having two different alleles. These two different alleles may be present together and they may be passed together in the next generation, but during gamete formation they separate. They are not passed by one parent, both the alleles will not be passed. One parent will give only one gamete or only one allele will be passed through one gamete of a particular parent, because when the fertilization takes place, one gamete of male and the other gamete of female, it fuses. So here, before the fertilization, what happens? Gamete formation takes place in sexually reproducing organism. So here, the law tells that during two different alleles, one dominant, one recessive, may be passed to the next generation. Here, from F1 generation, they are having the cross, and when they are passed to the next generation, they will separate. Here they are together, but here during gamete formation, you have to keep in mind. Okay, so in the heterozygous condition or in the hybrid variety, what do you find? Two different alleles are present, one dominant, one recessive. They are present together, but during gamete formation they separate. Okay, that is the law of segregation. So here they individually separate and then pass on to the next generation when the fertilization of two different gametes takes place. Again they come together, but they do not mix with each other. Clear? Here are they mixing? They are together. They are present together, but they do not mix with each other. Clear? So these are the two laws that are related to the monohybrid cross. Clear? So these two laws and the third law, the law of independent assortment, we will discuss in the next class. Clear? So one more you will do now. I will give you for performing.